So, my dear Raji, we are here to talk about your people, your country, your feelings. I would like to know about the 7th of October 2 years ago. From the very beginning, some of us, you also, knows that it was the beginning of something blood, terrible. Your experience as Gazan and your experience now here, working always for Palestine, but out of Gaza, what kind of feelings do you have about it?
First of all, we have to realize October 7th, it's not the beginning of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And before that, we have very deep history of criminal belligerent occupation, at least since 1967, and at least for the last 20 years before October 7th, 23, there was 6 wars, there was a blockade. And in the eye of the storm, there was the civilian target. Many killed, many injured, many houses and buildings destroyed, erased. And in Jerusalem, there was the ethnic cleansing and the new brand of apartheid in the West Bank. 1 million settlers Israel installed in the West Bank. So since 1967, we have deep, ugly record of the Israeli occupation of war crimes, crimes against humanity, persecution. At the end of the day, nobody on earth spoke about just, fair, or right occupation. That's when anybody was asking me, what do you think tomorrow might happen? What after tomorrow might happen? My answer was simple. Gaza barrel of explosive. It needs 1 ignition or more, and it will take off. It's not a human, and nobody should expect Gazans or Palestinians be good victims. That's why international law, international material law, gave the right of self-determination, which include the right of resisting the occupation. Of course, this is not absolute, it's binding by law. And that's why when all our weapons failed, we resorted as civil society actors, as human rights organizations, to universal justice, to universal jurisdiction. And when we failed and blocked by European governments, we resorted to the ICC. When ICC failed us, and during the genocide, we resorted to the ICJ through South Africa. Now, October 7th happened, and stupid won't see that happening. Whether you like it or not, whether you are for or against. But that was, ultimate thing after war crimes, crimes against humanity, persecution, pressure, prolonged occupation, social economical suffocation, of course. A lot Israeli used that in incredible way. And from day one, They were simple, direct, and they say it. And the ultimate goal was ethnically cleansing Gaza as introduction to ethnically cleanse Jerusalem and West Bank. That's why they butchered people. That's why they committed all atrocities. That's why they brought displacement. That's why they brought famine to Gaza. And that's why really, and indeed the civilians were in the eye of the storm, and they were the target, and they pushed everybody towards the south. We paid very, very heavy price. Whether we liked it or not. But people didn't give up. Not in one single moment they gave up. And I think what we have, especially in Gaza, unique explosive recipe. Almost 80% of Gazans are refugees of Nakba of 1948. They lived it, they felt it, and they were educated about it by their grandpas, by their pas and mothers. And there is deep trauma on them called the Nakba. That's why when the Israelis pushed everybody towards Mawasi, and there was almost 2 million people in 3% of Gaza. And Netanyahu on May 7th made Rafah attack last year and wanted to push everybody to the other side. People willingly. They were not educated or told or instructed, neither by Jihad or Hamas or Fatah or PFLP. They went back to the north. And that was the concluding lesson for everybody. We are not having another Nakba. We are the stones of the valley, and we are staying here, and we are not going to react to the Israeli terror positively. That's very costly, and that's why since then, situation escalated even more by the Israelis. Famine was more by the Israelis. So I look to that as continuation of the occupation record, equalitative one, because Israel felt they are immune, untouchable. So fine, we can do more. And they came to genocide. They came to the ethnic cleansing. And even with that, Europe, US supported them, and they legitimized it. And they continued with that 2 years. And that's why we felt our backs to the wall. It's very costly, very bloody. We lost almost everything, but no compromise on justice. And not for 1 second we thought we have to be good victim for genociders. So it's too much pain, too much blood, too much destruction, too many deers we lost.
And listen, many people doesn't understand about the reality on the ground of Palestinians, neither the political framework in Palestine, and some of them, without any knowledge, talk about Hamas, like Hamas is the evil, and they have they are the worst, and they beginning everything. What you can tell those people?
By definition, I'm secular. I'm leftist. I'm Marxist. That's my ideological political background. So ultimately, I never was convinced of religious parties, whether it's a Christian or Muslim or Buddhist. And I think in the Palestinian political structure historically, we never ever have had any religious party. I mean, all PLO factions, secular, national, pan-Arab, leftist, Marxist, but none of them, I mean, ever was religious. I think by imposing Israel the ideological religious dimension and by bringing religion to the surface of the conflict or in the heart of the conflict or trying to use religion, our religious parties were very natural result of the Israeli stubbornness, persistence on having religious conflict. So the seeds were there, crystallized in the 80s, grew up, and as a result, you begin with the game of religion. History tells us, divide and rule legitimate for the colonials, and they can do it. But in the end of the day, they will pay for it. And that's what had happened, I mean, by having Hamas part of us, part of our society, part of our structure. They began as a pure religious movement, and it ended up as part of Palestinian resistance movement. For me, I wasn't shocked to see that. I think that's very natural. Is Hamas part of us? Yes. Is it part of our society? Yes. Is it part of our structure? Yes. Are they gangsters? No. Are they part of the political phenomena? Yes. Did they join the political network? Yes. Did they join the elections? Yes. They won the election, and they won the majority in 2006. They formed the government. President Abbas empowered them with the blessing of the Americans and Europeans. And then, though the elections were simple and clear, they tried to suspect their legitimacy, and the Palestinian people were punished because they elected Hamas. And blockade by Israel and the West imposed on Gaza. Beyond that, everybody closed their eyes about punishing Gaza. I think in these 2 years especially, Hamas, with all Israeli bombing, killing, targeting to it, to their cadres, to their leadership, inside, outside the occupied territories, were able to symbolize resistance. And I can assure you, in this war, with the ceasefire, after the war, Hamas will be part of the Palestinian political structure. They will not end as a phenomenon. The seeds of the idea there, the supporters are there, the cadres are there, and historically, they don't target Hamas because it's Hamas, because it represents the Palestinian identity. Fatah was bad. PFLP is bad. Their leaders, legitimate leaders, Saadat, Barghouti, are in the prison, having life-term sentences with thousands of their supporters and cadres. No Palestinian almost kept the prison, and no single Palestinian home, years before Hamas, escaped imprisonment, house demolition, punishment, etc. We, the Palestinians for Israel, don't exist. Our representative political bodies don't exist. And that's why when they failed of deleting us, they want the ethnic cleansing and they want the genocide to take place to get rid of something called Palestinians. For them, we don't exist. Now your identity Hamas, your identity Fatah, PFLP, Communist Party, irrelevant. All of them are equal. Palestinian people shouldn't have any level of political representation.
This is very interesting, no? That all the political parties have been considered by Israel as an evil, no? As the worst. And they are with this narrative to invisibilize Palestinian people because this is their aim. What about the Trump plan? Do you think that can be a real change? Maybe it's only another scenario they create for the photo only. What do you think about?
30 years ago, there was Oslo Accords. We said from day one, we are against it. And the reason, not because we are anti-peace, we are for law, rule of law, democracy, and human rights. And I didn't read one single word in Oslo Accord talking about end of occupation, Palestinian state, self-determination, international law, international humanitarian law, or human rights. And when we were saying that, Europeans and Americans, they were telling us, yes, that's true, but we have to victimize rule of law, democracy, and the human rights for the sake of peace and security. After 30 years, no human rights, no rule of law, no democracy, no peace, no security. Worse, we are having genocide. The concluding lesson is simple. If Trump's plan skip all these things, we will become once and again on the same trap. Netanyahu will use the ceasefire to take the hostages, and then he will resume the ethnic cleansing and genocide. So what we want, simple, clear roadmap. Of course, now we want ceasefire. Immediate one. We want end of famine. Immediate one. This is not luxury. This is not intellectual discussion. Gaza erased. We are human beings. We need cessation of hostilities to catch our breath. But definitely, if you are talking about peace, I'm not talking about withdrawal. I'm talking about end of the occupation. I'm talking about self-determination. I'm talking about Palestinians control their fate and destiny of Palestinian state with the unalienable rights of the Palestinian people. I'm talking about accountability for the war criminals, genociders. That's the concluding lesson of the Second World War. Nobody said we have the war, we shouldn't have accountability. No, it's a must. We shouldn't make Gaza the graveyard of international law. We have to make it the minaret of respect of human rights and international law.
Yes, because some people see this genocide as something far from here. But actually, what is happening in Palestine is what can happen worldwide. No? So this is a struggle for everybody. And
that's the reason why all really free, committed people across the globe woke up. From US to Tokyo, from South Africa to Sweden, and in between. That's why Spain, Ireland, Luxembourg, Belgium, Norway, Slovenia took the lead, and they say, no, we have to respect that. That's why the flotilla, took place, and people from 44 countries or more joined the forces. That's why they stopped the cycling in Spain and put an end, for this. That's why people active in academia, in activating association agreement, in this and that, and pressuring their governments, in storming, in protesting. This is the shared values among the free people who don't want to see, once again, Gaza the graveyard of international law. And they don't want selectivity in applicability of that or politicization of international law. We have to be equal, irrelevant of sex, color, nationality, and Gazans, Palestinians do deserve justice and dignity like any other human being on earth.
Some people think that this is a religious conflict because Zionism has taken profit of that they are the Jewish state and so and so. So Muslim world are their enemy, and they forgot there are Christians also in Palestine. But there are many Jewish organizations, anti-Zionist, Jewish Voices for Peace, international Jewish anti-Zionist, and they work with you in the same trench, no? Do you think it's important for us to explain the people that point, that this is not a religious problem, that all of the committed people, independent of if they have religion or not, no, we have to be united in this struggle against Zionism, against imperialism.
Israel have interest in making this conflict religious. And that's what they want to drag us to. And that's why the entire Zionist theory is based on Judaism. And they say this is God promised to us. It's land without people and people without land. People without land, they are the Jews. And land without people, it's Palestine. And that's why the British colonials, when they were mandating Palestine, facilitated their mission. We didn't persecute Jews. We didn't make the Holocaust. When this happened in Europe, they fled Europe and they came to the safe haven where Palestinians sheltered them, fed them, hosted them generously. And then they made the Nakba in cooperation with the British. And 2/3 of our people kicked out from our homeland. And that's why they say in simple words, your land, Israel, from Euphrates to the Nile. These are the two blue lines.
Yeah.
Based on what? This is the Israeli flag. That's why they say there will be no other state between the sea and the river. Why? Because there is one Jewish state, one Jewish people. For them, we don't exist even, not a Muslim or a Christian. Who are there? Ethiopian flashers, people from South Africa, Argentinian Jews, Russian, Romanians, British, Americans. En route, they are granted out of the blue the nationality. I'm Raji Souriani, I'm 72. I'm having family of 8 centuries in Gaza. I'm resident. My residency not decided by Hamas or by PA, it's by the Israeli army, IDF, who they can delete my name any minute. Religion. Palestine is a place of tolerance. All the way long we have Christian, Jews, Druze, Muslims. We have 37 prophets. The 3 leading major religions. God not stupid to bring all that to a place where there no tolerance. We didn't make the crusade. The crusaders came to us. We didn't make Israel Jewish. They wanted to be Jewish on our expense. This is first-class political conflict. There is a people who are the stones of the valley. They have been there since ever. They will continue there forever. They are entitled for justice and dignity and self-determination, supported by all international legal legitimacy. UN resolutions and two most important court on earth decisions. What we just know, Israel cannot sell this illusion anymore. Genocider doesn't know God. This is the reality.
You have explained perfectly that this is not a religious conflict, that this is not a war. This is a colonial project on the land of Palestine, where Palestinians were living for centuries. And you also say very clear that the international law has to comply, just has to be complied. So what failed? Failed the international law or failed the countries, the governments?
International law, the creme de la creme of the human experience. It's not this or that country invention. And it intended to protect the civilians at the time of war and the dignity of man, period. That's what it's all about. Because it's Israel, and because it's too despoiled by the legal political immunity by the West, and because never they hold it accountable, Israel just became extremely wild. And they know whatever they do, they can get along with it. Never ever Israel was real subject for a criticism or act or sanction by the West. Though the violations, it's not said by Raji Souriani, by PCHR. It is said, I'm talking about war crimes, crimes against humanity, persecution, by all international human rights organizations with no exception. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, FDH, ICJ, and Euromed Human Rights Network. Palestinian and Israeli leading human rights organizations like B'Tselem and Public Committee Against Torture and others. So things are simple and clear, and law is perfect because it talks with very candid, clear language. Facts, standards, conclusions, period. And this is ruled by independent, professional, credible judges and prosecutors. Now even the judges and prosecutors and the lawyers defending victims are targeted by the West, especially by the US, by designation order and sanctioning them. That's a big shame. Why 59 states do recognize Palestine and their independence and the two-state solution? Is because the whole world is wrong? Is it US, Israel, Micronesia, and one or two other islands, supporting that? This is the word. There is nothing wrong in international law, nothing wrong in the international mechanisms of justice, the wrong in the powerful colonial states who wants to apply the rule of jungle instead of rule of law.
And the only two questions, what do you think? Because also there are many argues about the solution. No? What do you think about the two-state solutions, the one-state solution, which has to have this decision about how do you live?
We Palestinians have no problem with one-state solution, two-state solution. One-state solution, it's the PLO Charter of 1965. In it clearly stated, one democratic secular state for Jewish, Muslims, and Christians. And I'm adding the atheists too. Olaf Palme and Bruno Kreisky came to Arafat and they said to him, Chairman Arafat, your call for having one Palestinian state, secure, democratic, interpreted in the West as call of destruction for the state of Israel. If you change that, we will recognize Palestinian state in Gaza, including Jerusalem, on the spot. You come here.
No?
No, because my body just...
Kaixo lagun, ahotsak behar zaitu. Egin posible herri kazetaritza, bazkide eginez.
So President Arafat said to them, what do you want? They say, we want that you say, I want Palestinian state in Gaza, including Jerusalem, the unalienable rights of the Palestinian people, and you will have ultimate recognition by entire Europe then. There was internal dialogue, and he gave his famous speech in 1974 in Geneva in the UN, and they moved especially the headquarters from there to Geneva, and there was the speech of Arafat where he declared the two-state solution. And also, shortly after that, Olaf Palme was assassinated and Bruno Kreisky dies. And nothing has been delivered. In Oslo Accords, Rabin struck Oslo Accords, but he wasn't assassinated by Palestinians. We know by whom he has been assassinated and who incited against him. Netanyahu clearly says, if I'm proud of something, I destroyed the possibility of having a Palestinian state in the West Bank. They created the annexation apartheid wall, which the ICJ advisor opinion ruled against, and he put 1 million Israeli settlers in the West Bank. He launched the war in Gaza, and he declared his intention through Smotrich and Ben Gvir and others that he wants to ethnically cleanse Palestine. Never ever the problem was ours. Is there a state on earth doesn't designate its border? Why Israel doesn't designate its border? They say we are inciting against them. Ever they explained what are these two blue lines in their flag? It's Euphrates and Nile. Never they say that. They are saying to Egypt, take the Palestinians, give them a state. They are saying to Saudi Arabia, take the Palestinians, give them a state. Are we extra weight on him? We are people. We have rights, we have dignity, and we have a homeland. We will never compromise that or to be good victims. We are entitled for our right of self-determination, period.
And the last question, very important for us as social movements, as grassroots, as NGOs, what are you expected from us? Which kind of solidarity do you need or want for us towards you, towards Palestinian people, towards Palestinian cause? How we can be more effective?
I would say South Africa made it. They were the real tool which pressured the governments in the West to change their position and to support the ANC in their struggle against the apartheid and to abolish the apartheid system. Our relation with world civil society, free, committed people across the globe, fantastic and very good. They never let us alone. There is some unique societies, some unique movement among them. But in the last 2 years, they stood firmly, strongly with the Palestinian people against the genocide, against the crimes, against the ethnic cleansing. And they made us feel we are not alone, and never we were alone. And we are in the right side of history. We are doing legitimate struggle. More, they made the Western government shaking and changing their position. And if we are grateful because they poured in millions in the streets of London, of Madrid, of Rome, Paris, in Tokyo, in New York, in Stockholm, in South Africa, in Brazil. The genocide didn't end. And even today, ceasefire concluded. We don't know how long it will survive. 1 week, 1 month, or 2. We need the ongoing support. We shouldn't go home and sleep. Still, critical homework needed, especially now. And now more than any time before. Because we don't want this happening again. Resuming the war, continuing with genocide and ethnic cleansing will be the end. Netanyahu has no good intention for us. Israel has no good intention for us. This war supported by the entire political spectrum in Israel. No single voice criticized the genocide in Gaza. US is still talking ugly, and they are speaking about Hamas as terrorist organization. They are talking about possibility of buying Gaza or taking Gaza or absorbing Gazans in different countries. We have to keep alerted till we become normal, till we have peace. And peace never could be concluded till we have end of the war, end of ethnic cleansing, of genocide in Gaza and the West Bank, until we have practicing our right of self-determination after ending the occupation. When Palestine is free,
Humanity.
Then we can enjoy all that.
And sorry, I forgot to make you this question about bidez. You know, bidez movement. Palestinians create this tool for us, and they ask for end the occupation, end the apartheid, and right to return. No? So, do you think that these are the main demands?
This is not the
us?
BDS demand. This is the PLO, the entire Palestinian people demand.
Yeah.
We are in consensus, including Hamas, Jihad Islamic, including Fatah, PFLP, including women organizations, including human rights organizations, civil society, if the ordinary people in the street. We have to have end of the occupation, practicing self-determination, independence of Palestinian state in Gaza, West Bank, including Jerusalem, and the unalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including the right of return. If we have that, we will feel we restored our dignity and our justice, and we are in a normal situation.
And you decide how and where are you going to live. No?
Absolutely.
Okay, but BDS, do you think that is a good tool to arrive to this point?
They are part of the social movement in Palestine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Legitimate right. I mean, legitimate body of the Palestinian civil society and civil society organizations. Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Because I think this is the way, no, to ask for the subversions to the governments and enterprises who are complicity with the genocide, to apply sanctions to Israel, to isolate Israel, no, and to boycott. Economical boycott, export boycott, cultural boycott, academic boycott, no?
We are flagging the association agreement between Europe and Israel, and European governments should take it, and the European civil society pressuring their governments since 1997 till today, ongoing struggle, on that. We have the list of the companies who are cooperating with the occupation built since 12 years at the Human Rights Commissioner Office. So all these are enhanced steps. We are doing it to pressure Israel, to make them feel their mission would be rather mission impossible. You cannot help occupation, you cannot help annexation, you cannot help state do practice genocide.
Perfect, my dear. We will continue working in solidarity with you, asking for these demands: self-determination, end the occupation, end the genocide, end apartheid, and right to return, because it's what you demand, what you deserve, and we are in the same trench, always.
We are proud of our relation with Navarra people, with the Basque people, with the Spanish people, with the European civil society, with the American civil society, with the fantastic African, Latino, Asian civil society. When people to people grassroots globalization happen, they can make quite a lot of change. And they can pressure governments to be on the right side of justice and history. Thank you.
Thank you. Habibi,